Okay.
Okay. And folks, if you're not asking question, it would be great if you can mute your phones.
Are you all be able to see my screen?
Yeah, I can see it, man.
Okay. So, good morning, everybody. So, my name is Marcos Milhomem, and I'm an Azure Infrastructure TFP. And today we'll be talking about Azure Update Management for Windows and Linux VMs. Okay, we had a lot of updates on this specific feature on Ignite, and now we can say that they are first citizen within Azure, right? So, but before we dig into that, let me just, we always show you a little bit of updates. So those are some of the last updates that we have in Azure during this week that I thought they would be pretty interesting for you guys. So one thing that is, in my opinion, is huge, and we had a lot of customers asking, was the ability to detect attacks on Linux VMs, right? So in Security Center, we had a very comprehensive uh, attack detection for Windows VM, and those are not that good for Linux VM up to last week, right? So we got an update in Security Center. Now we are as good as Windows to detect attacks in Linux VMs. Uh, you can now automate and deploy complex SAP environments using Terraform. So Terraform is a multi-cloud tool. It's pretty used across customers who wants to do DevOps and infrastructure as code. So now you can fully automate the deploy of SAP environments, right? And last but not least, we are entering the preview of the new app services VNet integration. This is a VNet integration for app services that are not app services plan. So the shared environment that a lot of customers want to use it, but they ended up using the isolated mode because of the VNet integration. We are now bringing that to the shared environment as well. So those are just a few examples of updates prior for us to join, the topic of today, which is update management. Right. So let's start digging in. So IT is transforming, right? And right now, I kind of joke about it. So we had a lot of customers with a split brain. So they have like their on-premise environment and they have their cloud environment, right? And on-premise environment is completely IT centralized. So everything is managed and used and served by IT. And we have a lot of customers that are going to cloud and they want to start to have a delegated IT control, meaning IT will control the environment, but they can delegate tasks to the users of the cloud, right? So IT is kind of shifting, and we are kind of that in the middle of that, right? And one of the things that's pretty hard to do is update management when we are in this kind of mixed scenarios, right? So
Increasing volume.
what you want to do. So what we actually did in Azure was we bring update management to be a first class citizen, right? So it's completely built in into the Azure platform now. It is supports with the same features Windows and Linux, and also you can use it to do update management of your VMs on-prem and also your VMs in any other cloud. And although we love Azure and we want you guys to all use Azure as much as you need, but we know that a lot of customers are going multi-cloud. So you can use update management across VMs in other clouds as well, right? So we actually create under the automate, under the account automation of Azure, we create a super feature-rich solution that do update management, configuration management, and process management, right? So today we're gonna focus on update management, but just for you guys to be aware that you can pretty much do all the three from one place, right? Which is super cool. So let's talk a little bit about update management, and then I will show you on the Azure portal as well. So first thing that when I always talk about update management, uh, somebody in the room says, hey, but what about System Center Configuration Manager, SCCM, right? So SCCM is great, okay? But SCCM was really thought about it, you know, on-prem, right? So the idea of Configuration Manager was basically do, among other things, but do update management of on-prem servers and do update management of on-prem clients. And when I say on-prem clients, because there's no clients in the cloud, of course, but what I was talking about was like desktops that although they were Windows clients, they do not move it around, right? So there were desktops inside your offices, branch offices, and so on. So if that's your scenario, System Center Configuration Manager is still great, is still fantastic, right? And you can continue to use it, and you can also integrate it for reporting purpose into Azure Monitor, right? But then things starts to shift, right? So first of all, our Windows clients were not as static anymore, right? So now you take our PC home, it's not a desktop anymore, it's a laptop or a hybrid or a tablet, and you surf around with that. So we created Microsoft iTunes. So if your Windows clients move around a lot, going from inside the office to outside the office, from airports, from one country to another, because right now it's more common than ever for people, traveling international. So for clients, you should use Microsoft iTunes, Intune, right? And if you now have a mix of servers, either Windows or Linux, that are running part on-prem, part in Azure, part in AWS, part in SoftLayer, part in Google Cloud, and you are living this hybrid scenario, then Azure Update Management would be your solution, and that's the guy we're gonna talk today. So, of course, you can use all the three, you can pick and choose, but that's this Microsoft strategy moving forward for update management, right? So, what are the issues of doing update management, right? It's pretty much you have to access everything, and access everything at scale is hard because you're pulling information and you have to crunch that information, and doing that crunch at scale can lead to a lot of processing power, and doing everything on-prem can be hard, right? You need to also deploy updates, right? After you deploy the update, you also need to verify if the data play what that update was applied, and if now the machine is compliant, right? And we are leveraging the power of cloud to do that. So all this processing power that you need to have to do this, at scale, we are doing it with Azure Update Management, because Azure Update Management is now an Azure service, is a PaaS solution. So you don't have to worry about how much processing power you're using, how much disk you are using, how much network bandwidth you're gonna use. So everything is taken care of for you, right? And the best thing of all is you can use it for free for the first 5 GB per month. So the first five gigabytes per month of those updates assessment that comes in, and you crunch it and you deploy and everything, they are free, right? So at the beginning, I told you that we were making update management a first class citizen, right? So what is new? So first of all, we hasten onboarding. Like onboarding a VM now is like super easy, right? We have integrated experience, right? So you can go from update management to Azure Monitor and back, and you can go from update management to tracking, right? To inventory, to tracking and back, and it's all integrated into the Azure portal, right? You can target VMs dynamically. I will show you that. It's pretty cool. We have now inclusion lists. So you can specify a list of patches that you want to apply, right? So if you have like a test environment and then your production, you test a set of patches, and then you want to apply only that set and not everything that is available. You can do that now. Now, this is super important. And I will show you why it's super important. We have pre and post actions now that you can take. So prior and post, patch applications. And we got now reboot control and some other features, but those are the main ones, right? So how is update management in Azure now? It's super simple. You go to our dashboard and you can see you have a glimpse on how your environment is. And again, this environment can be Windows, Linux, on-prem, Azure, other clouds, everything over here. You can see over here that I have five. So five VMs are in critical state, right? You can see all of the informations here, and you can drill down as well, right? If you go to missing updates, the missing updates tags, you will be able to see every patch security hotfix across your environment that is missing. And if you click on it, you can see it's missing in which servers, right? You can, as I was just mentioning, you can drill down and also get more information about the server that is missing the update, right? So let's do a quick walkthrough. So let me just exit presentation mode and get my browser. So here's the Azure portal, right? Uh, so all these features, they are embedded inside the Azure automation, right? So under Azure automation, you're gonna see the update management. But before I do that, let me go to VMs first, just to show you how you can onboard a VM. Okay, so let me just get one of my VMs that I know that is not being monitored yet. So just a second. Oops. So if I click on my Red Hat VM, and you will see here on the blade that now I have an update management option. If I click on update management, and this is part of when I said earlier that was a completely integrated experience. So this VM is not enabled, right? So I can select enable this VM, and it's already pulling my log analytics information, right? If I didn't have a log analytics created, I would also have the option to create one on the fly, and I can enable for this VM, or I can pretty much say enable for this VM and for every single VM in the subscription, right? If that's the option I select, you're gonna see, a little wizard to help me go through the process. But if I just click here and hit enable, update management will be enabled for me, right? If I go, let me just close that. If I go to a VM that is already enabled, let me scroll down to update management. You're gonna see that I already have information around about that VM, right? So super simple to use. You can go in each VM and he can see. And one thing that is cool about that is because you're seeing the information just about your VM, we have a lot of customers that are starting to show that to their application owners. So now the application owner can also have information on how those servers are, if they need updates or not, and not just the IT operations team. But now doing a one by one is cool, but you also need to see the whole, right? So uh, if you close here and let me come back to the automation account. And if I select, let me just change the subscription again. And if I select I'm just selecting another one because this other one has more data, right? So again, if I go to update management, I can see the information about all my servers. You see that I've seen that everything is compliance, but I have all the machines that I'm monitoring, right? I have a lot of patches that are missing, right? If they were security patches, they would be marked as critical. They're not marked as critical because they're not security patches. But if I select one, I'm gonna go and search the logs and I can see which exactly are the servers that are missing that, and I can then schedule to update it, right? So here you can see that I can add Azure VMs. I also can add non-Azure VMs. Okay. If I go to update deployments, I can check how is the deployment of my the deployment of my patches and security hotfix, right? So, for example, if I go over here and every Sunday and click it, I can see I can drill down and see information about all the updates. So if they're succeeded, if they're not succeeded, if they had fails, and if they had fails, I can go and drill down the errors. I don't have any errors over here, right? And another thing that I can do, which is super cool, is scheduled updates, right? So here on the scheduled updates, I can see all the updates that are coming, right? Or if they are one time only, or if they are recurrent, right? So for example, one time, these are recurrent, and I can schedule new ones. To schedule new ones, I'm gonna go switch back to the other automation account just because I, as my user, doesn't have rights to schedule updates on this environment. This is a Microsoft demo environment. So if I come back to my personal one, this one that I created, and if I go to update management, you can see that now I have a new button over here that was missing called schedule update deployment, right? And if you click on schedule update deployment, you can create schedule update deployment. You just need to give it a name. Let's test. You want to select if it is a Windows or Linux deployments. Now, this is a pretty nice part. I'm going to explain something here for you. So you can pretty much click here and select the machines you want. So you can use Log Analytics Saved Search to find the machines you want. You can pretty much pick and choose manually. We can also import your Windows Active Directory, Azure Active Directory groups here. So you can select those groups. So we give you a lot of options, right? A lot of options to select the machines you want, right? Here you go. So I can pretty much click on my machine and select that, right? But I can do another thing that is also cool. I can click here on groups to update, right? And now one thing that I can do that is super cool, and I'll explain in a bit why. For example, I can select the subscriptions that I want. I can pretty much select all my resource groups. I can select all my locations if I want, and I can select a tag. So I can say, for example, if this tag over here is present, this is all the VMs that have that tag will be the VMs that I'm going to run my schedule update on. So this is super cool because you can manage updates through tags now, because I can select, for example, a tag called Sunday updates, I can create another tag called Monday updates, and whatever is the server, if the server has a tag called Sunday updates, when every Sunday when I run this new update deployment to apply patches and hotfixes, every single server that has that tag will be applied, right? So this query runs prior to the execution of the update deployment. So just make sure that your servers have the right tags and you can dynamically apply. Just close here. So you can select a classification. So I want to apply only critical updates, security updates, updates rollups, everything, or I can pretty much unselect all of them and pick and choose whatever I want to apply, right? I can go over here and pretty much pick and choose whatever I want to apply. Then I have my schedule settings. When pretty much you're gonna see that it's super simple. You can pretty much select your schedule, right? So here once are recurring. If it's recurring, I can choose, for example, every week on Sundays, if I have an expiration or not. So you can do some pretty complex scheduling. And another thing that I want to show you is this pre and post script and why they are so important. One of the advantage of cloud, right, is powering off servers when you're not using those. But if the server is powered off, how can you run your updates on those servers, right? So one of the ideas is you can run a pre-script, and we have a template created for you called turn on VMs, and you can run a post script called turn off VMs. What those two guys do, if a VM is powered off, when it's time to run this deployment, this update deployment, if the VM is powered off, sorry, our update management will power on the VM, will apply the update patch, and will power off the VM after. If the VM was already on, it will just update the VM and it will not power off the VM after. So this gives you like a huge flexibility when you talk about cloud, right? So if the VM is off, we will power on the VM, apply the hotfix, and power off the VM. If the VM is already on, we will just apply and we will not, again, we will not turn the VM off. So this gives you a lot of flexibility. And we have a lot of other examples. You can pretty much import a lot of scripts of that from the gallery or create your own, right? And you have documentation around that, but you can pretty much execute any pre-script or post-script, right? So together with the power on VMs, you can also turn on services or shut down services, do whatever you want to do with those. And hit OK. And then you can pretty much select a maintenance window, meaning, hey, if all of this deployment is not done in 120 minutes, stop it, right? So this is your maintenance window. And you can control how the machines are rebooted. If it's required, never reboot, always reboot, right? Or only reboot. It will not start any updates, right? So when you hit create, you pretty much going to create a new deployment. Just click close because I'm not creating. And then new deployment will show here on update deployments, as I was mentioned to you earlier. So as you can see, it's a first-class citizen, right? It is all integrated into Azure. Another important thing, everything we do here, all the information we are collecting about patches and hotfixes, it is surfacing into Azure Monitor. It is surfacing into Security Center. You can create alerts on. So for example, you can create an alert saying, hey, if there is a critical update on my Linux Red Hats, or if it's a critical update on my Windows servers, warn me. Send me an alert even prior I run any schedule updates. Send me an alert, because if it is that critical, maybe I can create a one time and update it prior to the schedule window, right? So this is pretty much update management in a nutshell, right? You can use it across the board. You can do bulk onboarding also. Remember that I show you how to onboard a one VM only. You can go over here and add Azure VMs and pretty much select all of them, right? You can select all of them and just hit create. All of them are already enabled, but you could select all and then enable. Let me just now go back real quick to the presentation so I can show you some just another thing. Remember that I told you about the tags. What is so interesting about the tags? This is something that Microsoft IT is doing, right? So Microsoft IT is allowing the application owners to control how their servers got updated by using tags. So for example, I'm an application owner. I prefer that my VMs are updated on Monday. So I created a tag for Monday. Maybe a friend of mine who controls another application, he prefers to get their servers updated on Sundays. So he uses the Sundays tag. So Microsoft IT created a set of pre-built tags, and it's allowing their application owners to select the tags, and through policies it's enforcing that they have to use one of those. So you cannot create no tags, which means no updates. So through policies we will enforce it that you have to have at least one of those, right? Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, but we can delegate when when is the best to update those servers to the application owners, right? Another thing that, as I mentioned, the supported operating systems right now, it's Ubuntu, CentOS, SUSE, Red Hat, and Windows. So with the same features, right? We will download the updates from Red Hat, from SUSE, from Ubuntu, from CentOS repositories to our repository, and we can use them to deploy it. And you also have the control on that, right? So we are almost over time. So in a nutshell, what you can do with Azure Update Management is access every single server you have, doesn't matter what it is. You can update it and you can ensure compliance because all of those informations are also surfacing to Azure, meaning they're surfacing to your compliance, your policy and compliance engine, right? So we are at time. That's what I wanted to talk to you about update management. I just have to see on the share window if we
Yeah, there
have.
are some questions. Marcus, you want to take a look?
Yes, just a second.
Thanks.
Uh, okay, so Paul pretty much answered some of them. Preview rules apply to preview features, of course. So, internal subscription information. Yeah,
Marcus,
so,
if you can look at Rick's question about selecting only 3 resource groups at that one point, if you remember where he was talking about, and could go back to that, maybe.
yeah, sure. Let me just pick the browser again. I didn't quite realize that, but we can take a look at it. Let me share the screen again. And where was it?
So if you do add Azure VMs again,
Okay.
and then on the far right there, like you can only select 3 at a time. So if you unselect one, you can select the other one, but it makes it hard to like go see, like in the old,
Okay.
before all the new features, I set up this, but and now in the new way, it says, okay, you can say any new VMs also include or enable, but I'm going back like on an old setup, and you have to kind of click through all these, and when you have a lot of resource groups, it's hard to see like which are the ones that are not enabled. You'd think if you selected the subscription, it would include everything, but it doesn't seem like it does.
Yeah, it's 0, right? So I can take this I can take this to the product group and see if it is meant to be like this and why, or if it is just maybe a little bug on the UI. Because yes, I agree with you that it should be able to select all.
All right, thanks.
Mm.
Hey, could you post the email that you would like Rick Moore to send?
Sure.
You know what I mean? Because that'd be rude to ask him to post his, but if you could post yours, he can contact you for follow-up. Thank you.
Putting on the shadow window.
Great, thank you.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, I think that Paul answered most of them. Thank you, Paul. Uh, so we are going to WSUS for patching. What are the benefits of using update management? So pretty much, if you are running in the cloud environment, you will have some features that update management can interact with Azure. For example, the updating through tags, or for example, powering on VMs that are shut down, updating and power off. So if you are running servers in the cloud, you will have some extra features. For example, sending those patch informations to security centers so you can test that your cloud environment is secure. So that those are pretty much the different things that you would have. Yep. Any other questions?
That was an awesome presentation. Great job.
Hey, thank you.
Hey, Rob, the all of the supported OSs are listed in the documentation. I'm looking for that page to try to get it to you now if you're still on the call.
Okay, if we don't have any more questions, thank you guys for all your time. And the presentation and the recording will be posted on the Azure Power Lunch site.
Yes. Thank you, Marcus. Yes, and we are uploading the presentation, the video, but the presentation will be there very soon. So thank you. Thank you very
Thank
much.
you, guys.
Have a
Thank
great
you.
weekend,
Bye
everyone.
bye, everybody.